Welcome to the first 100 days, a show for revenue practitioners by revenue practitioners, giving you unscripted access and tips to help you navigate any new transition or initiative, both in life and at work. Well, hi, Chris. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making the time.
I am excited to be here, Trinity. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So just to get started, for folks who are listening, can you give us a speed dating version of who you are?
I am a entrepreneur and a business person that has since 2013-14 obsessed around what customers are looking for, what they're doing, why they're doing things that can inform targeting, product strategy, messaging, advertising strategy, content strategy, customer success strategy. The thing that I know is that the better that I understand my customers and the more my customers feel that I am a peer or even better, a thought leader, that good things come to me when that happens. And so I have, over the past 6-7 years, focused purely on demand gen marketing, but it's holistic marketing. Mm-hmm. It's all of the marketing components, for the sole reason that I recognize that it's the number one way to drive a business today. Way more impactful than trying to get out, have me go in there and try and build the product or write code or sell deals. That marketing is the lever that can create growth and a trajectory of growth that no other function in the company can. And so that's why I do marketing.
And that's how you started Refine Labs, right?
And so I started Refine Labs in 2019. I had a very good run as a marketer at a company called Vapotherm, which eventually IPO'd, where I did a lot of the marketing strategy that I do right now, which involved video podcast, paid social ads driven through content, non-conversion based, not a lot of lead gen. Built that, and then I actually went out and pitched it to a bunch of companies because I was trying to go and get another job after the company IPO'd, and none of those companies hired me. I kind of got forced to build my company. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. The reason those companies didn't hire me is because they wanted to run marketing like it's 2011, like most companies do, because they see all of the constraints and they see them as a way. Those constraints don't exist anymore. They're fake. And so a lot of companies don't believe that. They've never seen marketing work in the way that I've seen it work at 5, 10, 15, 20 companies in a row. And when you see that and you see that it's repeatable, you build a level of confidence that most executives don't know. Most executives see marketing as an assistant to the sales team, as a necessary thing that you need, I only want to consider marketing once something in sales is going wrong. They don't see it as the major lever that's going to drive a business today, because people discover things on the internet on their own, which is best suited for marketing to take that part of the journey and go and execute there. That's how I got the company started. Within 3, 4, 5 months, we were hiring people. And over the past 2 years, we've gone from me being a consultant to about 50 people and growing quite quickly, just because we are accountable to business results. We do things in a modern way and we think differently. And then the last piece, which is super fascinating, that we do the things that we tell our customers to do to get business. Fascinating how many quote-unquote marketing agencies suck at marketing themselves. Do you think if they can't get customers on their own, do you think they're going to be good at getting customers for you? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing, so right before this recording, you had a keynote session where you said something that I really liked, where you say marketing should be the offense instead of defense, right? Instead of a sales support. Yeah, that's going to be the driver for the hockey stick growth.
To go a little bit further on that, just for the people listening on the podcast, most people do not view marketing as offense. They view marketing as this is something that will change when something goes wrong. When sales doesn't hit their target, when marketing doesn't hit their lead target, when the pandemic happens, when some other major environmental shift in the market happens, when we go to some keynote and hear some tech vendor talk about some new tool that they have, that's when we'll change marketing. Not looking at, these are major opportunities, let's go on offense and start driving our business forward with marketing. I just don't see people take those proactive steps. I feel they react when things go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Another piece before we get into like the specific plays of marketing and demand gen today. So you mentioned that modern marketers need to get back to the fundamentals? So you mentioned about like the fancy tools that you see at different conferences. And there are values to those tools, but marketers, to be successful, they got to go back to fundamentals. So what are those fundamentals?
Marketing fundamentals: understand customers deeply, know how to segment them, have clear positioning, hang out in the places where they are, have a constant stream of consumer insights, understand what's resonating with them, have the infrastructure to provide value and have a content engine that those people want. Mm-hmm. Those are the fundamentals. I listed out things. I don't know about you, but I interact with a lot of marketing teams. Most marketing teams do zero of those things. Mm-hmm. No content, no consumer insights, no talking to customers, none of it. No work on messaging.
Yeah. So my background's in product marketing, so that's everything that product marketers do. Are you suggesting that every marketing team out there should have a PMM as one of their first hires?
I think it depends on the organization. And the interesting thing for me, I believe in specialization of roles at scale. But if you think about your own career as a marketer, you want to be like, it's not hard to be good at all of them. Product marketing, field marketing, sales enablement, demand gen, brand, content, advertising, RevOps. It's not hard to be an expert in all of those things. And so the problem that happens with most marketers is that they pick a lane, field marketing, and they get to a director level field marketer and they don't know how to do any other parts of marketing. Right. And they're not going to grow from there. They're essentially like, you can't get to a VP level looking at just one thing. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really encouraging people, and I was lucky, and I think a lot of people listening to my podcast are working at some form of startup, right? So startup being, I would say, less than 1,000 employees, and in those types of scenarios, you have a ton of flexibility to go and work with your sales team, to go and work with SDRs, to go and work with product marketing, to understand the financials, to run ads, to create content, to talk to customers. That's how you become a good marketer. That's how you become a CMO. Is by knowing all of those things, not by teching out, going full pot committed on your career on ABM.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're going to get pretty tactical because I want to talk about one topic that's not usually talked about in B2B. So that's influencer marketing. So when you started Refine Labs, in one of the podcast interviews you did, you mentioned that early on in the Refine Labs day, you made a number of bets like podcasts, communities, events. And one of them is influencer marketing, very common in B2C, less on B2B. So can you share your thought process back then? What got you to pick that as one of the bets? What worked? What surprised?
So first off, this is more of just like semantics here, but I don't consider any of these things bets. These are it's obvious that they're going to work. Other people look at them and see bets because they don't understand the nuances and details. But I've been doing this stuff. I've been running influencer marketing since 2014 when we would have physicians that used our product speak at conferences about how they use our product for a specific use case. That's 100% influencer marketing. When I built relationships with those people and they had 50,000 physicians follow them on Facebook in 2017, and we started to build relationships with them, and then we fed them content and they shared it on Facebook to all those people that listened to them because they work at the best hospital in the US for that specialty. Like, influencer marketing is not new. I know that it's hot for a lot of people, but a lot of industries have been doing it for a long time. They would call it key opinion leader marketing. When you think about the things that we went all in on, it was LinkedIn, it was some type of long form content stream, which at the beginning was live events that turned into a podcast and virtual events post-COVID. But I don't think about influencer marketing or key opinion leader marketing in a vacuum. It's integrated into the entire mix. So it's when we're doing events, we're thinking about influential people. When we're creating content, we're thinking about how we can weave that in. When I was engaging with content, I had very clear targets of the people that I was going to engage with because their post got 1 million views. And when I had a comment on one of those posts that got 1 million views and my comment was the top one, I would pick up 1,000 followers. All of these nuances that people never spend enough time in the details doing the work to ever see, right? So most people listening to this would never think that you could pick up 1,000 followers by leaving a comment on a popular post. I've been doing that for a long time. I think some people think about influencer marketing like, hey, Trinity, I want to pay you $30 to post about how great our company is. I think that's a very superficial B2C transactional way to do it. And I think the way that it wins in B2B is more like when Nike sponsors Jordan. Well, long-term, authentic partnerships with people that truly do love the brands and are non-transactional always. Jordan
100%.
wasn't getting paid on how many people clicked his affiliate link.
Yeah.
And so those are the things that people, I think, should consider, because if they're like, okay, we want to do influencer marketing, they move down the camp where they're going to pay people $50 to post about shit, or they're going to get into a place where they're going to come to people and say, hey, we'll pay you by how many sales you generate, like we're selling coffee or something over here, that you're just going to piss people off.
Yeah, that's just more like affiliate marketing rather than actual
totally.
partnership. That totally makes sense. So I'm kind of curious, have you, like, you worked with a lot of marketers like CMOs. How receptive are they or the companies to this key opinion leader marketing? Is there a framework to approach in the right way?
I think that smart companies are moving on it. I think that laggards are not. I think that a lot of companies say no before they have the opportunity to say yes in a lot of things. Facebook ads, posting on LinkedIn, doing a podcast, running influencer marketing, starting a community, any of those things. Executives are like, what? Facebook ads? Forget that. And don't even try it. Just write it off based on their opinion. Which is really sad. And so there's always going to be companies that are going to say, you know, influencer marketing, forget that stuff. Let's keep doing all the same dumb shit we're doing right now. But some people are really moving on it. To be direct, it's not something that we like recommend often, because if you're going up the stairs, influencer marketing is like step 18. And most companies can't do step 1.
So talk about step 1, and since you mentioned about Facebook, Instagram, I know you share a lot of content and thoughts about this, but just for the audience who might not as familiar, so many companies, especially in B2B, don't believe that Facebook, Instagram works. I think it's more in consumer space, or for those that more adventurous and put aside like a little bit of a budget on Facebook, Instagram, they think that it's more for engagement, maybe awareness, but those prospects are not sales ready, or at least within the company, people will push back on that kind of spend. Give us your thoughts. What do you recommend?
Yeah, so here's what people will do. They'll do a couple of different things on Facebook. And when I say Facebook, it includes Instagram. Facebook and Instagram ads get deployed through the same properties. You can basically cover the entire population of the United States across those two platforms. You can get mass consumption unlike any other platform in the world right now. And so just by saying that, I'm so confused why people don't recognize the opportunity. There's not a single place, television, Wall Street Journal, anything that has as much scale as those two platforms combined. So that's enough for me. But here's what companies will do. One, they'll write it off. Isn't that for like college kids? Isn't that for consumers? I don't get that. Let's keep doing all the same stuff. They won't even try. But what most companies will do is they'll do this. They'll take $2,000 and they'll go into Facebook with a lead gen mindset, and they'll run lead forms on $2,000. They'll collect 20 shitty leads. They'll have bad email. They'll have personal email addresses, bad contact information, the wrong name, the data, because people don't update that in Facebook and they're running a lead gen form. They're going to collect 20 leads, say this data isn't good, and then they're going to give up and stop. And what they actually did was they went out and tried to hang a picture with a wheelbarrow. They used the wrong tool. They used the wrong approach with the tool. And then people give up, and then they get confirmation bias, confirm all the things that they already believe, and then they keep doing anything else that they're already doing.
So what would you recommend companies do? Maybe, I mean, it's probably like a secret sauce, but maybe like 1 or 2. Like, what would you recommend your clients do?
Not really a secret. We talk about it all the time. And the reason I talk about it all the time and it's not a secret is because nobody does it. Like, it's not complicated. We do this for 40 companies. For some companies, we spend $150,000 a month on it and drive the most business results through that channel. It works. And I just recognize that most people will never act on it, so it's fine to talk through it. When you think about what you're trying to do here, I reverse engineer all of the activities and all of the concepts and all of the information that our salespeople try to deliver in a sales process. And then I do all of that in a way that people like on the internet without the sales rep. It's really that simple. And so the difference is that most people move into Facebook with a lead gen mindset, not a I want to teach you all of these things mindset, at a way that's way more cost effective than having people sit on a demo with our rep that don't buy. It's an alternative way to educate people than what most companies do right now, which is super inefficient hand-to-hand sales. And so that is the approach. Obviously, there's tons more nuances in it, but that's what we do.
Yeah, no, but the part where you say basically you're trying to figure out what would a salesperson does on a call, or like trying to convince them, the prospects, and then bring it to the marketing side. And scale that. That's exactly what we've been doing within UserGems as well. So when you said that, I'm like, gosh, don't say that.
Nice.
You keep doing that. I think that when I reached out to you, you shared something about like LinkedIn ad. I'm like, no, don't share that. It's been working so well for us.
People aren't going to move on it. Don't worry. Like, and it's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah, absolutely.
What we talked about on the event earlier, the innovation phenomena is real. So most people, the things that we're talking about here on Facebook and LinkedIn, are not going to move on them for 2-3 years if they ever do. And then by the time 2 or 3 years goes around, there'll be 9 other things that you and me are doing that they don't know about, that they're going to be 5 or 10 years late too. And so there's no like people catching up. It's a facade. It's not really happening.
Yeah, it's true. Another channel, I just want to be mindful of the time to make sure that I can get as much out of your time as possible, is another piece that you've been talking about is the Google Ads. I think it's one of your recent posts. Do buyers still go to Google for non-branded terms? I believe you mentioned you didn't really invest in SEO initially for various reasons. So we'd love to get your thoughts there too.
Yeah, this isn't just paid ads. This is so I'll talk through the phenomena that exists, and then we'll go into more detail. So the phenomena that exists right now, and the reality is that buyers trust their peers way more than the results they get in Google. They know there's affiliate links. They know there's pay to play stuff. They know that vendor is not objective when they have that blog. And so when people are making buying decisions, they make those searches elsewhere. They make those searches in places where their peers are. They ask that in Revenue Collective or a Slack community or a Reddit channel or a Facebook group or a direct message or an email or a Zoom call. And they talk to somebody that they trust more than the results that they get in Google. And the way that people use Google is they use it to get transactional information. What's the definition of this word? How am I going to convert this currency to this currency? What's a synonym to this? How do you do this? Like, that's when people are using Google. And when they're going to make complex purchasing decisions, they're going to go and ask their peers, or they go to Google because they already know who they're going to buy. But it all leads back to people funneling through Google in a branded search once they've figured out what they're going to buy somewhere else. And so all of these companies are spending a ton of money and a ton of time on SEO and SEM, not recognizing that over the past 18 months, like this has not been happening for a super long time. All of this changed, where now buyers literally just go somewhere else to get the information. And what you see there, you see increasing CPAs on Google Ads. You see less people that actually convert on those ads, convert to customers. You see less fits. So those are some of the dynamics in Google Ads. There's plenty of companies that run Google Ads that if they did audit them, even if they were doing a good job, are not getting an acceptable ROI from Google. But they consider it an operational expense. They don't think they have a choice about whether or not they spend. And so would you rather take $100,000 a month and spend it that way in order to get $20,000 a month back? Or would you rather take that $100,000, go put it on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, a podcast, different things like that, and drive 300 3x ROI instead of 0.2 ROI? Those are the things that I'm encouraging people to consider on. The dynamics are real. There's no super logical what's happening. People will not... just like all of the things that I talk about, people will move slowly on this. They'll keep running their SEO strategy. Like I said, I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just telling you to recognize that things are changing for buyers fast, and there's better opportunities elsewhere.
That's super timely, because I've been thinking the same way too, like, should we put money into the Google Ads? And I talk to marketers in all kinds of communities. And they all complain about how it's so ineffective, it's so expensive, and yet they still have to do it because everyone else is doing it. And if they don't do it, they're afraid that they're missing out. But from what we've seen, because we track all the demo requests and conversation, they all came in from like a certain type of like ABM that we're doing, or communities like Revenue Collective, or like the 6 Cent CMO Coffee Talk, things like that. But in the back of my mind, when I talk to my CEO, is like, should we do it or not? Because he's like, oh, everyone's doing it. Like, should we do? And I'm like, I don't know if it's the right path for us yet. So is it just something you kind of do, like put aside a small budget just because you can check off that box that like, yeah, we're doing some of it, understanding that it might not convert as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not something to check a box. There's nothing in marketing that you should do to check a box. It's either you're doing something because it's going to make an impact, or get that out of here, right? And so when it comes to Google Ads, I think that most companies, the pure black and white answer of it is that companies don't know how to target keywords, and they think about Google, and they don't know how to get results in other channels, so they overspend in Google. And in order to overspend in Google, what they do is they open up the targeting, and they try and convert people on low intent offers to justify the spend. So instead of spending $10,000 a month trying to get high intent keywords to convert on demos, they spend $200,000 a month to try and get a bunch of traffic on low intent keywords to convert on an ebook. That's the miss here. And then then they have $200,000 of people converting on ebooks, and then they never look at how poorly those people are converting into opportunities or revenue with their sales team. That's the big miss. I think that most companies could spend and get decent ROI at $10,000 to $25,000 a month on Google Ads, and I think it would be a good buy. Cover branded and just run the non-branded things, and then just reverse engineer which ones have ROI or which ones don't. Over time, you might be a little inefficient at the beginning, but once it gets going, it should be okay. And that's the general recommendation for Google.
That makes sense. Dang it. I was hoping like I can just like scratch it off and like do something else.
There's certain things out there where Google Ads can be more like a gold mine, but not the place that you're going to build your company on, that's for sure.
That makes sense. I know we're almost out of time, so we can be like a toss-up. One is whether you want to share your all-time favorite demand gen play, and you could share for Refine Labs or your clients. Or the other side is something completely non-work related. What is your favorite DIY life hack?
So we might have time to do both, so I'm going to try that. I have no favorite demand gen play. The reason is because marketing is not about running one play. Marketing is about an aggregation of thousands of touch points and activities every day that drive the outcome that you're looking for over time. And so anyone that's looking for like one hack or one thing, that's not how you get to marketing. You find 3, 4, 5, 7 things that you do consistently that all make that impact and build. So if we were really looking for something like the move of creating an event that people love and doing that on a weekly basis, which becomes a podcast, which fuels organic social distribution, all with one event, is the move right now. Like you basically have an entire organic content strategy mixed by doing one event a week. So I think that's a good one. My life hack recently has been working out in the morning and getting 8 hours of sleep every night.
The 8 hours of sleep is hard to come by.
It's hard. Yeah, especially when you wake up at 4:15 in the morning. Yeah, I'm in bed at 8.
Now, combining the answers with your answer for the last two questions, it's like, yeah, I've been following. I know, I kind of figured out like you guys do like one event, turn to a podcast, and then distribute it. And that's brilliant. And that's kind of like how we started the podcast too. So you guys are our inspiration. But like the biggest question in my head is like, where did you get the time? Because you guys churn out so much content every single week, and they are not fluff. And I've been following you since 2019, and you're probably one of the only few thought leaders that still churning out like useful content instead of stuff or reusing content.
It's ultra simple.
Just keep doing it.
The answer is ultra simple. It's that we are committed to the strategy, and we don't do all of the dumb shit that everyone else does. It's super simple. We spend no time on SEO. We spend no time on lead gen. We don't spend money on content syndication. We don't go to trade shows. We don't buy Google ads. We don't do all the stuff that companies do. And all we do are the things that work the best. It's super simple when you look at it that way, but companies don't do it. And so that's why. So instead of having all of the time to do this because you decided that it's the number one priority and it's going to make the most impact, and you can spend 100% of your time on it as a marketer, you spend 3% of your time on the event because you're doing all of the other stuff. So the miss or the thing that people undervalue in marketing generally or in business generally is lack of focus and what that does to the potential upside of certain channels. And so people need to learn how to say no to things that suck, that are not worth doing, that are their 10th priority, so that they can put 3 people on one thing that's going to work the best, as opposed to putting 3% of one person's time on the thing that's going to work the best. And that's the unlock, but it only comes through the commitment to the strategy that I have that almost nobody else does.
That's great. I mean, if I could summarize like the whole conversation so far is like prioritize on what works best for you, your customers. Like know what your customers want, prioritize accordingly, and then integrate as many things together to amplify the effects. And just got to stick to it, do it consistently. Essentially, that's how you guys been doing it.
And then the last piece is I want to walk through, and I want people to understand and really get the idea, because it's what sparked the thought for me is you thought about adding things in or weaving stuff together, or integrating them together, this concept of micro innovation. And so I just want to talk through this thing. I was posting text posts on LinkedIn. I moved to video on LinkedIn. We started to do physical live events in 2019 to create the video for LinkedIn instead of me sitting at my desk. Obviously, those events needed to stop. We transitioned to a virtual event that was used to create video for LinkedIn that became a podcast. The podcast then started to grow. Then we started doing 2 events a week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday. And so you can see how it's not like we're going out there and trying to find 10 more marketing channels to market on. We're very strategic on one, that most people never see the potential impact of a channel like LinkedIn because they never go deep enough. They never try things. And so they don't see that you could basically build your entire $100 million company on LinkedIn if you did it well from 2018 to 2023. You could build a $100 million company that way with no other marketing activity. People don't see that.
Love it. So 1% better every day, trying to incrementally improve and innovate.
Totally.
That's awesome. So as we wrap up, can you share some words of encouragement for revenue practitioners, so marketers, sales that are listening?
So this one is going specifically out to marketers. I've been saying this since 2019, and I will continue to say it, that we're in the golden era of marketing right now. The golden era of marketing could have been in 2016. The problem is that nobody recognized how important it was back then. And so what you need when you're in a golden era is you need a huge opportunity, and you need executives and companies to recognize that same opportunity. And we're here. Marketing is the thing that companies lack that drives businesses today. And so if you're a marketer and you have the skills and you've done the work to really get there, you've set yourself up for a very nice 5-year run minimum, because buyers are basically forcing companies to figure this stuff out. And it's finally, I've been waiting for this for 5 years, that executives realize it too. And so all of that attention, all of that budget, all of those opportunities are growing here. In 2014, all of the upside was in the sales team. You wanted to get on the sales team. You wanted that sales team to scale from 10 to 100 people, and you wanted to grow through that process while the marketing team stayed the same size while that sales team scaled by 10x. Probably not the way it's going to happen anymore in the future for new companies. The marketing team has quite a bit of scale here. And so marketers, go out there and get it, because there's opportunities everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I know you have a hard stop, so I won't keep you here any longer.
Thanks, Trinity. This has been great.